Greetings from chess.com. Praggnanandhaa has won the Polar Challenge. With that, he got $3,000 and also a wildcard entry to play in the Champions Chess Tour, where he'll get a chance to play none other than the world champion Magnus Carlsen. That is going to be an exciting event. It will start on April 24th. So today I'll take you through some of the exciting moments from the games of Praggnanandhaa. There were 19 rounds in total, and Praggnanandhaa scored the most and was 1.5 points ahead of the pack. So let's get started. This is the game against Bedelka Olga, where he played the King's Indian, and the critical position comes after f4. You see, his opponent played f4 and he got f5 pawn break, and after rook e4, he just kept pressurizing his opponent consistently without giving any chance at all. No space to breathe. After fe4, he played c6, attacking the knight, and once the knight went behind, he played knight c5, again targeting the bishop on e4. And once the bishop leaves e4, he then attacked the queen on c2. So there was just no time for white to breathe. After queen d2, he played knight to d3. Now this knight on d3 is very proud of this square, and now it's slowly eyeing on the f2 square as well. And after rook takes e8, queen takes e8, g4, he kept the attack and initiative going with bishop d4 check, followed by bishop e3. That's deadly. The queen and rook are on the same line, and no, he doesn't pick this c1 rook immediately. He prioritizes the attack on the queen side, on the king side. After queen d1, he picks up the pawn and then plays bishop d3, followed by g5. He cements the knight on f4, and after bishop f4, gf4, this king is very much in trouble. So after king g2, he got the last piece into the game, which is rook d8, and then after rook a1, he wants to plonk this rook on the d2 square. The seventh rank is going to be very deadly, and then that was the end of it. So coming to this position, can you find checkmate in just 4 moves like Praggnanandhaa did? I'm going to give you 5 seconds. You can pause here. Okay, I'm going to reveal the move now. It is rook into h2 check. King cannot go anywhere else, but he has to take the rook. And then after queen check, king g2, there is queen f2 check. And if king goes to h3, there is a mate on g3. And if the king goes to h1, there is a mate on g1. So that was my first pick. In the second game, this is a game against late Chinji, where Praggnanandhaa was white, and the critical position comes after queen g3, threatening a mate in 1. And after rook g8, he played bishop into d5, and after e d5, he could have played knight e7, attacking the rook, and then after rook e8, he could have played bishop c3. But this did not happen in the game. After bishop c3, it's very difficult for black to defend the pawn on g7. Instead, Praggnanandhaa went for a knight into g7, which is a mistake, because white puts the knight in a pin, and black realizes that bishop c3 is coming, and black played pawn to d4, and then the position is heavily in black's favor. But Praggnanandhaa did not give up. He kept playing moves quickly, and after queen d3, rook g7, bishop f4, queen f6, he played bishop g3. Obviously, this position is very much in black's favor. Black is a piece up, but after queen f3, rook a g8, white found a way back into the game. So in this position, rook a g8 was a mistake. Black should have played knight g5 to attack the queen, but after rook a g8, white played rook c5, taking advantage of the fact that the queen on f6 is unprotected, and then he was able to come back into the game. So after queen f6, if the knight moves to support, there is always bishop d6, and in the game he went knight at 6, but then after bishop e5, this pin was very deadly, and it ensured that Praggnanandhaa got back his piece. So after bishop e5, queen f8, bishop into d4, you see again all these pieces are loose in nature, and then Praggnanandhaa manages to get them. He takes a knight, and then after rook e7, again 2 pieces are attacked. He at least wins another pawn, which means these 3 pawns are going to be very dangerous. So that was his win. The next on the list is his win in King's Indian attack. So Praggnanandhaa also employs the King's Indian attack. He's very flexible with his choices in openings. So it's also a nice opening to learn if you are somebody who wants to just develop pieces and get the attack going. This is a reverse King's Indian, so that's why it's called King's Indian attack. And this knight comes to f1, bishop comes to f4, and then h4, h5 follows. So that's what happened in the game. And I'm coming to a critical position after rook b4. The pawn is attacked, And black played bishop into d3, while this was actually a trap because the bishop on a6 was keeping an eye on the b7 square. Now that's no longer possible. So after rook b7, Praggnanandhaa has rook into d7 threatened, and after queen d7 there is a knight f6 check coming. So after king h8 he played knight f6 and then went on to pick a piece. So after bishop b5 he simply picked the piece and then went on to win the game. In another game, Praggnanandhaa was black against Yo Christopher, and I really want to stop at a moment which is quite new. After e4 c5 knight f3 knight c6 d4 cd4 knight d4 knight f6 knight c3. I'm going to give you at least 6 chances. If you have not visited this game, try to come up with the move that Praggnanandhaa played in this game. It's not d6, it's not e5, it's not a6, it's not g6, it's not queen b6. The move that he played in the game is h5. So when I did a bit of research in this, I realized that Praggnanandhaa's friend Arvind Chidambaram has played a lot of games in this line. The idea is to provoke bishop g5 and switch into some kind of a classical Sicilian, which usually comes after d6. So he went on to win this game. I just wanted to show you that this is a new opening. For those who are into openings and want to dig deeper, I think you can check games of Arvind Chidambaram in this line. Next, I'm coming to a classic. Like when I looked at this game, I was I recalled a classic. So this is a game against Shuvalova Polina, where after king g2 knight c5, Praggnanandhaa took advantage of the fact that the c6 square is weak, and this was also seen in one of the classical Botvinnik games. He played queen f3. For a moment it looks like all the pieces are getting exchanged, but every exchange is actually favoring white. After queen d5 knight d5, he got knight e5, and this c6 square is just giving away everything. So how you can see how easily Praggnanandhaa was able to put a lot of pressure. So after bishop d6 he plays knight c6, attacking the pawn, and once the pawn moves to a5 he sees that the b6 pawn will find it's very difficult to protect the b6 pawn, so he plays bishop d4, but he knows that this knight on d5 is protecting it, so his opponent played f5 to prevent that, to prevent e4. But then Praggnanandhaa is very persistent. He played pawn to f3, again threatening e4 so that the d6 falls. So now the position is already in white's favor, and then he went on to win the game. His opponent played bishop a3 and then gave up the pawn, but then after he won the pawn there was like no problem at all. Praggnanandhaa converted this win very easily. Then there is this game against Jonas Bull. His opponent played bishop f4, and after bishop d4 bishop g3 rook f6 knight takes f3. He took bishop into c3, but after knight h4 is where I want you to think the final position is deadly. Like it's a killer position, I would say. It's black to play. If you've seen bishop e4 check, congratulations. And after f3, it's again killer rook into f3. And in this game, after knight takes f3, bishop rook takes f3, queen g2, there's just one move here, like one move that finishes the game in style. Different ways to win, but the move that Praggnanandhaa chooses is clinical. So he plays a rook into g3, and at g3 of course the queen drops, and after queen takes e4, a very cruel fork follows with knight f2, king h1. This is how our chess.com news reporter Peter Doggers put it. It's a cruel fork. I agree with him. Alright, next game, Praggnanandhaa versus Kimmer Vincent. I think this is the only game in the later part of the stage that he lost. He lost the first game. Praggnanandhaa started with a loss, but then later he kept winning and was very consistent. And then the only loss he suffered after that was against Kimmer Vincent. And this is a position very similar to Fischer-Taimanov match 4. So you see it's bishop versus knight, the position 5 pawns, but white is a favorite here because of the bishop. When you have pawns on both the sides, it's easy to have a bishop and keep pushing, because the bishop can switch from one place to another, but knight will find it difficult to do that. So you see that Vincent was able to convert this advantage into a win. So after this, Vincent then later lost a game, and then that helped Praggnanandhaa to keep his lead going. So yeah, then now once this b6 pawn fell, it was difficult to make a comeback, and Praggnanandhaa lost this one. But then eventually he won the remaining games, and then he was always ahead of the pack. And as I said, 1.5 points ahead is quite a big margin. I'm coming to another position after g4, rook c8. This is his game against Abdul Malik Zansaya, and she played pawn to h5. This is slightly tricky, maybe take 2 minutes to solve this. It's black to move. If you see the drawback, then you will definitely get an answer. After h5, there is just one tactic here. The bishop on g5 is unprotected, so you play knight takes e4. And that's what happened in the game. After bishop to e7, there is knight takes e3. Then the position on the queen side for the king is ruined. After knight takes e4, bishop takes e7, queen. Knight takes e3. This is very much in black's favor. So after knight takes e4, after bishop on g5, queen d6, bishop f4, black had double bishop advantage, and then he used that very well and then won the game. So those were some of the games that I had, positions that I had selected from the games of Praggnanandhaa. So Gukesh got 3rd position and Nihal Sarin got 4th position. I think in such a strong event, they also were able to score a lot of points, and Gukesh and Nihal, they were also able to defeat some of the rivals of Praggnanandhaa, so that Praggnanandhaa was also able to maintain lead thanks to the crucial wins by Nihal and Gukesh. This is Anand's tweet. So after Praggnanandhaa won his match, won this event, Ushay Anand wrote this, and they are also part of the coaching program that Anand is doing. So Abdu Sattarov was the second, he got 2nd position, and Murin Volda, I think that's his name, Voldar. So he won 10 of his last 11 games, so that's incredible, isn't it? Those were the highlights I had in mind, and congratulations to Praggnanandhaa for pulling this off. It's a great accomplishment, and I'm very curious to see how he does in the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour that's going to take place from April 24th. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. So do give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to our channel. I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.